my shift actually ended at 11 because I had to clean all the tables in the back room before heading home. It was a normal night of closing alone, and I just locked the doors at 10 p.m. I began wiping down the tables, but after just a couple seconds, several loud knocks came from the front door. It made me jump, but I looked over and saw a man standing there, looking through the glass door. I spoke loudly, telling him the place was closed for the night. This has happened before, so it wasn't much of a big deal, but the guy stayed there for a little bit, as if he didn't understand what I said. I walked closer to the door. Sorry, the store closed at 10. We aren't taking any more orders tonight. I spoke even louder this time, so I knew he heard me. The guy looked at me for a second with no reaction, before making a slight smile and turning around as he walked away. I thought he might have been drunk or something, but I forgot about it after a couple minutes and continued with my work. I finished cleaning all the tables and started wiping down the front counter when I saw out of the corner of my eye a figure moving towards the front door, followed by knocking again. It was the same guy from 15 minutes ago, standing right outside, looking through the door at me. I'd never had someone do this before, so I was more annoyed this time. I raised both my arms up as in a "what are you doing" kind of gesture. The man, still staring at me, knocked again. I told him with a very loud and strict voice that we were closed and he needed to leave. This time, though, he looked very bothered by what I had said. He tensed up, then gave the door a small push as if to test if it was locked or not, before walking away. What the hell is wrong with that guy? I said out loud to myself as I walked towards the front windows to make sure that he was leaving the area. I didn't see him anywhere in the parking lot, so I figured he was gone for good. I checked the time and was slightly annoyed as it was later than I was hoping. But just as I began walking over to the counter, a sudden loud bang came from the restaurant's back door. I froze in fear as I wasn't confident whether or not the back door was locked. But a couple seconds later, they began hitting the door over and over. Knowing now that the door was locked, I knew I needed to leave while I still had the chance. I sprinted out the front door and got my car, calling the police as fast as I could. After a minute or two, I could see through the restaurant window as the man appeared and began looking through the whole building. Then he tried to open the cash register, but I think he gave up after a few tries, and then he disappeared to the back of the store. Once the police arrived, they made sure the man was gone and then got the whole story from me. The back door had huge dents in it, and the door handle was almost completely gone, clearly having been beaten by a hammer or something. But other than that, there wasn't much damage, or even anything stolen aside from the tip jar that we kept at the front counter. I just find it crazy that some people are willing to do these sort of things just for a couple extra bucks. Who knows what he would have done if I had stood in his way. I spent most of my 20s working at a variety of stores as a stocker, basically just putting products on shelves all day. After a few years, though, I took a job at a common pet store that required me to work at multiple locations. I'd basically get a small van full of boxes every day, and I'd drive to all the stores in the area and fill their shelves, then drop the van off at the warehouse when I finished. The thing about this job, though, was that I'd pick up the van at 2 p.m., and so I wouldn't get out until 12. But most nights it would take much longer, and I'd have to do 1 to 2 hours of overtime. This wasn't too big of a deal for me, because with the overtime I was making really good money, but the shift did make it hard to have a normal life. Anyways, I had been doing it for several months already, and it was just like every other shift. It was 11 p.m., and I was heading to the last store, which meant I probably wouldn't get back to the warehouse until 1 a.m. Obviously, the pet store is closed at 9, so I'd always be the only one there. There was a small dock in the back that I could pull my van next to, and then take my dolly out and roll the boxes in. So I pulled up as usual and unlocked the door to the building. I rolled in 3 large stacks of boxes and began moving each box to the aisle that the product belonged to when I heard a small thud from the front of the store. I looked up and stood there quietly for a few seconds, then went back to work after there were no more noises. I did get creeped out sometimes when working in the stores alone at night, but I'd gotten used to it at this point. When the building buildings are quiet. You can hear sound you normally don't, like the air conditioning turning on and off, so I figured the noise was just another random sound that the building made. I finished unloading the boxes to the aisles and began opening them and stocking the product. I was probably halfway done, and nearly 45 minutes in, when I heard the distinct sound of a single cough echo through the building. I froze, staring at the front of the store again. I could feel my heart instantly start racing as I was absolutely terrified. Nobody was supposed to be here, and I knew that if they didn't have bad intentions, then they would have said something when I came in. After waiting for almost a minute, I slowly and quietly started stepping towards the back door. Once I made it outside, I shut the door and locked it. Feeling much safer now, I got into my van and pulled my phone out to call 911. Just as I did that, I heard footsteps rushing towards the door from the inside, followed by the door handle moving slightly. The door was key-locked, so I knew they wouldn't be able to open it, but it was still terrifying and made my adrenaline start pumping. Then, loud, harsh banging, and possibly even kicking, came from the other side of the door. The man started yelling, pleading with me to let him out. I could hear the anger and rage in his voice. I didn't respond and hurried to call the police. As I was on the phone, the man was swearing and cursing, repeatedly hitting the door and aggressively trying to get it open. Once the operator said the police were on their way, I turned the van on and moved further down, away from the door. I know I should have been safe and just driven far away, but part of me wanted to make sure that this guy didn't escape before the police arrived. Thankfully, they got here pretty quick. I met them at the door, which was now quiet, and gave them the key. The 3 officers went in, and a couple minutes later they came out with a man in handcuffs. He was found with a pretty big knife on him, but nothing else. I think that's the weirdest part of this whole situation, and the thing that I think about the most. The man was hiding in a store with a knife and didn't steal anything. I'd never seen the man before, so I don't know why he'd want to harm me, but it seems like that might be the only explanation. It's scary to think that I could have been just a few feet away from something horrible, but at least now I don't have to worry about what his true intentions were. For almost 3 years, I worked overnight at a fast food restaurant as the drive-thru attendant. My college class schedule was unusual and was only part-time, so working overnight actually made my life a lot easier to get schoolwork done during the day. For the most part, my shifts would go by slow and would be very uneventful. However, sometimes strange things would happen. My manager always did his best to make sure 2 people were scheduled overnight, but every once in a while we'd have to be alone for the night. Thankfully, most of the weird things would happen with my coworker there with me, but with this one incident I wasn't so lucky. My main coworker that worked overnights with me was taking his vacation week, so that left me alone 3 out of the 5 night shifts that I worked that week. My first 2 nights went as usual with no problems. It was slow and all the drive-thru customers' orders were small and simple. On the 3rd night, it started out slow as well, with only 5 to 10 customers coming every hour, ordering a small snack or a drink. Then around 2 a.m., there was a long break of nobody showing up for almost 45 minutes. I kept my headset on in case someone pulled into the drive-thru, but decided to start cleaning while I had extra time. There wasn't really anything else to do, so cleaning was my way of passing the time. I'm not really sure how long I was cleaning for, as I was never interrupted. But I passed by the front counter at one point and noticed bright headlights shining through the front window of the store. The car was parked right outside the doors. Our restaurant's dining room closed at 9 p.m. every night and only kept the drive-thru open, so it was a little weird that someone was parked there. But of course, I didn't really think too much of it, as they could have just parked to pull up directions on their iPhone or something, so I continued with my cleaning. A few minutes later, though, my headset beeped, signaling that a customer was in the drive-thru lane. I quickly made my way to the window and asked how I could help them. A man spoke softly, asking for a large soda. I told him to pull forward, then began pouring his fountain drink as usual. The guy pulled up really quickly, though, so I was still pouring the drink, but I could see in the corner of my eye that he was looking in the window at the restaurant. Some people did this, but I never understood why because it makes it really awkward. but I finished up and handed him the drink. He gave me exact change, then I thanked him, telling him to have a good night as I stepped away and went back to cleaning. I wiped down a few counters and reorganized a small shelf, but as I passed by the window, I jumped back a little, as the man was still there, staring at me. "Did you need something else, sir?" He didn't respond for a moment, not even reacting to my question, before he finally said no and